Welcome to Brew Crime, the podcast where we drink brews, talk crime, conspiracies, or whatever catches our attention. This is Mike and my co-host,
J.
Tizzle.
J. Tizzle. How are you, sir?
Oh, you know, I'm surviving.
You are surviving. I asked that knowing the answer.
Yep. I got the black lung pop.
That's how I cough. That's how I laugh.
Yeah, you do, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I unfortunately got COVID, but it's not bad, actually. It's, it's been a sore throat and a bit of a headache and some coughing once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, yay for science, right?
Vaccines are nice.
Exactly. That's exactly
My beer pairing for today is water.
Oh, God. Y'all, it's really awkward to see him drink water.
Yeah, it might turn into a hot drink, and I don't like those, but we'll see.
Nothing worse than a warm beer.
Oh, no alcohol.
I know. Good for you. Because I get something in me, that's illness, and I just want to, drink all the alcohol to kill it, right? That's how that works.
Yeah. That's usually what I do, but I'm going to not play around with this.
That's fair. Yeah, I wouldn't either. There's two things I'm not going to play around with, and it's this and monkeypox. I'm not fucking around. Nope.
No. How are you doing? You haven't been quarantining for a couple days now.
No. No. My son's sick, so yesterday I was kind of. Just a respiratory thing. He gets them all the time. That sounds like I don't care about him. I totally do. But he and I had a day at home. Spent a lot of money on my car due to an inspection. The typical week, my friend.
Of course.
Yeah, but I health-wise, I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Physical health, mental health. People would probably argue differently, but that's fine.
Who knows?
But I am excited to do my side of the Crimes of Alberta theme.
Part two.
Part
two. Tabernacle.
And I'll just cover the beer that I'm drinking right now. It's from Wicked Weed Brewing, and it's called the Coastal Love Hazy IPA.
Ooh.
And it is cloudy, it's citrusy, and it truly is really good. And the reason why it's called Coastal Love is because a portion of the proceeds benefit hurricane relief and nonprofits working to protect the shoreline. So
lovely.
It's part of their series, the Beers That Build series, which is kind of cool. And the can is gorgeous. So Mark Twitchell, we did something really serious last time, and it's not that this isn't serious. However, well, let's just hop into it. Why don't we? Sometimes you run across someone who, they take you back. So we're going to go back to the old times with a case worthy of the old show True Crime Lab, where we didn't make fun of the victims or the victims' families or friends, but we sure as hell made fun of the criminals because, damn it, they deserved it.
Yeah, no shit. Well, get in our DeLorean.
Yep. Where we're going, we don't need any roads.
Exactly.
All to say that this case I submit to you is called Dexter Fire or Dumpster Fire, the case of Mark Twitchell, Dexter Killer. And
well put.
Thanks. And this is one of those criminals where all you can ask is, did he really think he could get away with this? Did he really think that they would believe him? It's a case of pride, bravado, but also one of insane ego and stupidity. And before everyone gets on me for kind of using his nickname, the Dexter Killer, let it be known that there's a hella good reason why I introduced this guy with his moniker. Mark Twitchell was, how do I say this, an asshole.
Yes, he was.
He was always an asshole, and he will always be an asshole. He is a smelly, ungroomed, horrendous excuse for an asshole. Everybody's welcome. But before we get to the ass hat hole, both, let's talk about where he was from, which is Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Yes.
So briefly, Edmonton is the capital city of Alberta.
Sure is.
It's on the North Saskatchewan River. That's right. I'm going to make that damn thing a thing. It is on the same latitude as Hamburg, Dublin, and Manchester.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Average daily temperatures range from 13.3 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 10.4 degrees Celsius in January, to 63.9 degrees Fahrenheit, 17.7 degrees Celsius in July. 2021 city population was just over 1 million, and metropolitan population was 1.4 million. And it's the staging point for large-scale oil sands and diamond mining operations. I did not know this, but it is the second largest in the world after Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, sounds about right.
No idea. It is known as Canada's Festival City.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and it started as the Hudson Bay Company trading post. And people from Edmonton include Nathan Fillion and Michael J. Fox. So the Back to the Future was appropriate, my friend.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So, Mark Twitchell. Let's go over the basics of Mark. He was
Marky Mark.
Yeah, right. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. He was born July 4th, 1979 in Edmonton. He had a well-adjusted family, but we don't know much about his parents or childhood. He spent a large amount of his youth in the Midwest. He returned to Canada in the 1990s. He was married twice. His first wife was from Illinois. He married her January 4th, 2001, and divorced her in 2004. He married his second wife in January 2007, who he met on a dating website, plentyoffish.com, in 2005. He had a daughter born in 2008, and he was divorced after his arrest in 2008.
It's amazing that he got all that done.
You're not kidding. So, Mark took a course on television and radio at Northern Alberta Institute of Technology, NAIT. When he graduated in 1999, he was described as a loner, but he did have a core group of friends. His friend Drew Kenworthy said, Drew Kenworthy's a great name. I love that name. Yeah. He said that he was a good guy, but not trustworthy. He was basically the guy who failed to do his part of the group projects and then always had a story or an excuse and lied unnecessarily. Like, that's who he was.
We know those people.
We all know those people, and if you don't know those people, you are those people. So, called you out. I don't know who you are, but I called you. Okay, so we're going to take a brief left turn and talk about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Yes, of course my childhood's menace.
Yeah, right. It also came out in 1999, I believe, and introduced one of the worst characters of Star Wars that has ever existed, Misa Jar Jar Binks. Oh, don't hate me. So he turned this into a fundraiser. How did he do this? Well, when you're waiting for a massive release, you wait in line for tickets, right? Mm-hmm. He went up and down the queue. And he called it what he was doing was a stand-a-thon. And the proceeds would go to the Children's Wish Foundation of Canada. But Twitchell took a part of this. Because of course he did. Fucking asshole. Do you see where I'm getting? Like, this is where we're going.
Yeah, he's a douche canoe.
Right. He I don't want to cross the river on that one.
Just don't fall in that river.
Right. It's just a boat that you put into the water, and the whole time it's like, it's so wet. Yeah, that's... Okay.
Douche canoe's a canoe you put in a sewage treatment plant. No.
Oh, God. At the same time, he auctioned some illustrations saying that they were original conceptual drawings made by the production crew of the movie. And a friend realized that they were forged. Of course, Twitchell wasn't going to acknowledge that, because why would he, right?
No.
So I mentioned that he was married, divorced, married a second time. He lived in the U.S., did return to Edmonton, and he took a series of sales jobs, including at a paper company selling alarms and security systems. He decided to make a fan film revolving around what movie? Star Wars, because why not, right? There's not enough fan films revolving around Star Wars. Not
really.
This is something, right? This is something that you'll realize about him, is that he has no good fucking ideas of his own.
Yeah.
At all.
But I mean, one of the best fan films of any kind of sci-fi is The Orville.
You know what? And that just for me, it just hit Disney Plus, and I actually can't wait to watch it because I have not seen it yet.
It is one of the best sci-fi shows, and it's just made by a fan who happens to be a very successful director, Seth MacFarlane. But He's just a big fan, and he basically it's a direct rip off of Star Trek,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
awesome.
Right? Yeah. You know, Seth MacFarlane's one of those guys who you hate to love.
I actually don't like anything else he does, really.
I don't really like a lot of stuff, but then also I saw a video of him singing, and that guy can fucking sing.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and I hate him for it. So, he had no formal training in making a movie. You know, he had that class or whatever, but whatever. He hired production crews, and he tried to learn on the job. Because, you know, that's what you do.
That's how we started the podcast. Fake it till you make it.
That's accurate, too. So his film was called Star Wars Secrets of the Rebellion, which sounds an awful lot like a porno, but I digress.
Star Horrors.
Star Horrors. Star Horrors Secret of the Rebellion.
I'm sure that's already a movie.
I have no doubt somebody has come up with that, and it wasn't Twitchell. So, but that movie did make more than Twitchell's did, and you'll find
Even
out
if
why.
it made $1.
Yep. Oh, accurate. So most of it was done on a green screen at NAIT, the school he went to, in 2006. The actors were primary local artists, but he did get Jeremy Bulloch, who was the actor who played Boba Fett in the original movie.
I forgot that.
I don't know how he did that. I don't understand. Maybe Jeremy Bulloch was having a bad year. But the bottom line is I have no idea how he got that dude. It was apparently actually like a legitimate movie set with sewing machines, woodworking, etc. Got him online attention, and, you know, he got on the local news, which of course contributed to his ego.
Yeah.
The movie went into post-production after it was filmed, and here's a hint. It's still fucking in post-production.
And will always be in post-production.
Yes, and shall always be. After he wrapped on the Star Wars movie, he moved to a new one called Day Players. And he even convinced others to invest in the project. Now, something that he did do apparently well was design costumes. And most of these were like cosplay type things. His masterpiece, what he called his masterpiece, was Bumblebee.
Yeah.
And the reason why he called it his masterpiece is because he won first place in the 2007 Halloween Howler, which is an annual costume contest held by the radio station The Bear. So,
I mean, you know, if it was like a huge like Comic-Con or something you wanted at, I'd be really impressed. But a local radio station's Halloween contest, not as much.
Well, you know, it was him, and then it was a dude who dressed up his little daughter as the doll from Saw, right? like that was it.
How do you not pick that kid then?
Well, that's true. That's fair. Maybe they didn't want to reinforce the... Okay, so let's not reinforce that behavior, Bear. So Mark Twitchell was...
Oh, and it was a terrible costume. I just Googled it.
Is it made out of cardboard boxes? Please
I
tell
found
me
the
it is.
mask. I'll show JT.
Oh my gosh, he looks like a reject Power Ranger.
It's pretty bad.
It's terrible. But despite how bad it was gonna get worse. You like that transition, huh?
Yeah.
It's like I'm a professional learning on the job. So, Mark Twitchell was obsessed with Dexter. I mean, he truly was. And he loved it for whatever reason he did. And you know what?
I loved that show. It was great. I even liked the reboot people didn't like.
It's a great show. I haven't seen the reboot. It is a wonderful show, but, you know, Mark he pretended to be him online in groups on Facebook and more.
Yeah.
Wow. So, in September of 2008, he wrote and directed an 8-minute horror movie called House of Cards, which he probably thinks Netflix stole his title.
Probably.
But this was filmed in a rented garage and was a story about a killer who lures a cheating man off an online dating site and kills him. This becomes important later.
It does. Foreshadowing.
Right, so here's why he's called the Dexter Killer, and I'm kind of going to jump the shark with this, but Steve Lillibuen?
I don't know.
Steve L. He was an investigative journalist who wrote a book about him, and he said, quote, if you look at the evidence, there's significant links to Dexter. He had a kill room set up with plastic sheeting. He had a table set up for his victims. He had this kind of processing kit that was very similar to what Dexter uses. So, despite this, Mark works very hard to convince people that Dexter had nothing to do with his case and that it didn't influence anything that he did, which no one's saying. They aren't saying Dexter was the reason he killed someone. What they're saying is that between his fascination with the character and what he did, there were definite connections.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he took his inspiration from.
Right, and near the end, I actually I give a quote from Michael C. Hall, who was asked in an interview how he felt about that. And the quote from Michael is actually really good. So here's the thing about confession documents. I don't like them.
No.
I don't like reading them. I will for you all, but I hate it.
I like Weird Al's confession song.
Right, that's fine, right? Part 3. You know,
exactly.
I basically turn into my 3-year-old who doesn't want to brush his teeth. You know, I turn into an athlete who doesn't accept the penalty, and I'll turn into an oversized child who doesn't accept the results of a presidential election. Well, not that far.
Yeah.
So here's the problem about confessions or manifestos. They're usually a bunch of lies, right? They're usually pushing their narrative. Mark Twitchell was so egotistical that what he wrote was pretty much what happened because he thought that was good enough. So what I'm going to do is distill this 43-page confession document into some key points, and we're probably going to make fun of him along the way. You know,
Perfect.
You kind of have to have fun if you're going to torture yourself, right?
Yes.
So the first thing that he starts out with is literally he literally hits on Law and Order right away. He goes, "This story is based on true events. The names and events were altered slightly to protect the guilty."
Dun dun.
Dun, dun, right? Dick Wolf. So he then continues and says, "I don't remember the exact place and time it was that I decided to become a serial killer, but I remember the sensation that hit me when I committed to the decision." So the whole first part, and even into the, quote, story, which you should read as crime, is all about him talking himself up. For instance, there was something urgently exploring my dark side that greatly appealed to me. And I'm such a methodical planner and thinker, the very challenge itself was enticing to behold.
God.
Exactly. I can't do this any longer, so I'm just going to give you the rundown on his proposed MO. So he logged into an online dating platform, and his plan was to lure men in using a woman's profile. His targets were people whose entire lives he could infiltrate and eliminate evidence of their existence. And if you're playing the home game, you'll remember what my plot line for House of Cards was, which was a guy on a dating site bringing other guys to a garage and killing them. So he said, "I finally settled on middle-aged single men who lived alone. My reasons were numerous. For one thing, they would be easy to lead by their dicks, easy to manipulate, easy to seduce under my fake female disguises." In other words, he was describing himself.
I hope those fake disguises he was making weren't like his Bumblebee costume. I hope he's better at profiles.
Around my age, everybody's first crush was Kimberly of the Pink Power Rangers. So, but not the same thing.
I don't remember what she looks like.
Oh, good grief. I'll let you look that up real quick. She's not your type.
My.
Maybe she is your type.
Nope.
No, I didn't think so. All right.
When I was that age, it was more like Britney Spears.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. So he was in this for the profit. He wanted a, quote, return on his investment. He created a detailed shopping list of everything he would need. And here's what it included. How do we know? Because he wrote this shit in his confessions.
Yes.
And here's the thing. I don't like using these really because usually they're a manifesto pushing some kind of belief or thing that's absolutely ridiculous. However, he really did it. He did a step-by-step fucking description of what he did. So
these are my confessions.
Just when I thought I said all I could say, I grabbed a knife. That's not how that goes.
No.
So his first thing was a garage. He found a double-detached garage tucked away. He decided since it was pretty clear no one would hear much of anything from that location, He would approach, apprehend, kill, and dispose all in this garage. He removed the address from the back, blocked out the windows with boards and duct tape, and he replaced the locks. He also bought a street hockey mask.
Canada.
He is one fucking cliche after another, my friend.
Now he's stealing from the movie Bon Cop, Bad Cop.
Right, exactly, right? He also bought what he says is, quote, a basic dark green hoodie to disguise himself.
That way he doesn't show up on camera.
Right. He also bought sets of disposable overalls, which I didn't think were a thing, but I guess they are.
Yeah, they're like for like disposal and stuff, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, you see them on like construction sites for like really messy stuff.
Got it. So on top of the overalls, he bought plastic bags, and he bought a hunter's game processing kit.
Ooh.
And he says, quote, it reduces the splatter caused by power tools, takes the noise level way down too, and there's also just something more gratifying about sawing through tendons and bone with your bare hands.
Jesus.
He was one of those kids, I have a feeling, that said shit just to get people worried or a rise out of them. And there's so many times in those confessions where I feel like he just goes one step too far. And it's just because he doesn't think that whatever he wrote was enough, so he has to take it there because it's just not bad enough, right?
Yeah.
He bought a hunting knife with an 8-inch blade, several rolls of painter's plastic sheeting to prep the garage, 6 rolls of packing tape, duct tape, contractor hefty bag, stun baton, realistic airsoft pistol, and a partridge in a fucking pear tree.
Yeah. I'd be interested to hear how he got that stun... What'd you say? It was stun what?
A stun baton?
Stun baton, because that's definitely not going to be legal in Canada.
Oh, really?
Oh, God.
Well, we'll find out soon that it wasn't all that he thought it was. I have a feeling it wasn't really... It almost came off as like it was a prank baton.
Oh, maybe it was like a
Yeah.
Movie prop baton?
Maybe. It possibly was, because when I describe the effect it had, you'll understand. So,
he was stunned.
Right. Yeah, he was absolutely stunned and pissed off. He designed and built custom furniture for this room, including a 4x6 foot, 6-inch table with stainless steel finish and angle iron edging. He also welded a chair to it. Why? He was into Game of Thrones.
I guess it's like, grade 3 or 4 desk.
Yeah, right? He ordered a 45-gallon steel drum used for the body before incineration. Quote, I was all set, prepared as I could be. I diligently set up my kill room, creating the plastic bubble I needed to create my nasty mayhem. The trap was set, and now it was time to bait the hook.
Nasty mayhem.
He's just a nasty woman.
He's a nasty boy.
He's a nasty boy, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, what he is one cliche after another. He downloaded an IP address blocker, and he created his profile. And each profile had its own email address. Quote, I always change things up. I never use the same profile for more than one victim at a time, and I generate new email addresses as well, just in case. He's just so fucking proud of himself. His arm must hurt from patting himself on the back.
Probably.
So he came across somebody that, in the manifesto, he called Frank, but whose real name was Giles Tetrol. So he met Mark, or as Mark was portraying himself to be, Sheena, on Plenty of Fish.
Ah, yes.
Mark asked him to pick him, Sheena, up from his home, giving him detailed instructions. He gave him some excuse, which led him into the garage to get him. Quote, I adorned my specialty mask, serving the double purpose of facial protection and identity shield to give the victim a false sense of security in thinking they would be let go since I cared about hiding who I was.
Did he call it a specialty mask?
He did.
It's a fucking hockey mask. What's the specialty?
It just wasn't special enough.
I guess, yeah.
It wasn't special. Because he took the hockey mask and he painted some design on it in gold and black, I believe. So his mom said it was special. Right, Megatron. Shockwave.
Yeah.
He got all of his stuff together and he waited. And he called it a perfectly formulated plan, but that was soon to go straight to the dogs.
Woof.
He said that his kill room was perfectly prepped. He put plastic sheeting around the table, a cloth shielding the view of the table from the door. It was basically like a homemade, like, haunted house is really what this amounts to. His plan was to wait in the shadow of my curtain until he approached the door and shock him with the stun baton, followed by a sleeper hold that would sap away his consciousness so I could tape him up and set him on my table.
God.
The first problem is the baton. The second problem is I don't think he realizes how hard it is to actually put somebody to sleep because it's not the WWE.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Like it's really hard.
Yep. So he was pretty confident in that stun baton, like I mentioned, and he shouldn't have been. The first time he tried to shock Tetrol, it did very little. What it did do is let him know he was being attacked. My thought is he got the baton off the Wish app.
Yes.
So he struck him repeatedly instead. He dropped the baton and punched him in the side of the head. Giles broke free, and Mark reached for his, quote, gun. He commanded him to get on the ground and put duct tape over his eyes. Why? Who knows?
I don't know.
Giles got back to his feet, removed the duct tape, and grabbed the, quote, gun from Mark and realized it was a fake.
God.
So he broke free after a further scuffle and attempted to escape through the opening in the garage door. And he made it to the garage door. Mark grabbed him by the leg to pull him back into the garage. And Giles almost pulled Mark's mask off. So it's a horror scene, right? It's from a movie.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, somebody reaches out under the garage to grab your leg and starts pulling you back in. So he gunned it. And he describes the situation as this. He grabbed my jacket. I jerked forward to make sure he had a good hold on it, and I thought, it's the perfect time. I slipped out of the jacket, rolled underneath the garage door, and then got up, and it worked. I tried to run away, and all of a sudden my legs wouldn't work. I just fell, boom, right on the gravel driveway. That's when he grabbed my legs and started pulling me back to the garage. So I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do now? I'm dead. Giles rolled out again, and he managed to finally get to his truck, and he escaped, which is amazing.
Yes, for sure. Lucky bastard.
I know. The problem is, well, it's not really a problem. The reality is he was embarrassed, right? I'd be pretty embarrassed if I was in that situation. I thought it was a woman, and then all of a sudden this happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't report it to the police. You know, what he says later on is that he thought it was a mugging. He didn't think it was anything more than that, right? And so if it's a mugging and you're embarrassed, you're not putting anything together past that, right? So there's a bit of time where Mark's paranoid. He thinks law enforcement's coming for him a couple of times. He talks about his wife, daughter, family in general, and getting one over on her in order to continue lying. And he's just so goddamn proud of himself for all of this.
Yep.
He even talks about an affair during this time that he had with Lacey, his ex-girlfriend. He talks about her other boyfriends, and they became friends, and it's a real Disney how do you do. And a complete waste of time. So we're going to move on. He's also pretty immature regarding emotions because he describes a, quote, make-out session at the age of 20s or 30s. So I can't with this guy. So after...
A make-out session.
Right. We were necking in the back of my truck. After this waste of breath and time, he starts talking about setting up for his, quote, next victim. Now, here's where he contradicts what he's been saying post-trial, or even during the investigation, which was, he said he wasn't inspired by Dexter, that it wasn't a tribute, and the murders had very little to do with it. But in the old confessions document, he says the following, and I quote, "I'm a huge fan of the Showtime series Dexter. As you may have guessed if you're at all familiar with the show," which comes to the assumption that if somebody read it and is familiar with the show, they should have linked the fact of what he was doing in his plans to Dexter. So he's a fan. Therefore, he's connecting the two together.
Yes, exactly.
He continues to say Dexter enjoys the sweet, dark alone time of his own apartment since his TV girlfriend Rita and her two kids, Astor and Cody, are not as tangled into his life as my family is with mine. I had to do with the sweet, dark alone time of my basement computer office.
God. That sounds like someone who's got a porn addiction.
It does. It really does. Like the guy down the street where I used to live who got arrested for child porn, like I feel like he had that kind of a basement. So here's the kicker.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about how he writes a woman's profile on dating websites because he just knows women so well, right?
Yeah.
He says, writing a woman's dating profile is very simple. You read enough, and they all start to sound the same after a while. I wrote delicately, sweetly, as a woman would write. I listed a few of the things my new persona was not interested in, and made a few kind comments at the end and an invitation to message me.
God.
Now, if he's to be believed, he receives hundreds of messages. You know, just today, my 6-year-old heard a rhyme at school that I had never heard before, which is, boys are strong, like King Kong. Girls are weak, kick 'em in the creek, which is a little...
Concerning.
It's a little concerning. And I had a conversation with him about this. I do want to say that. So, like, I didn't let that go, and I just let him know that Mom's way stronger than I am, so really it doesn't work out. His logic is flawed, so he needs to fix it. But that rhyme and what he wrote is, like, he has the logic of a 6-year-old, right?
Yeah, exactly. But less poetic ability.
Oh, God. Yeah, right? My 6-year-old trumps him on that. Oh, Trump. You can bleep that out. I don't like it. He'll get a hard on at the fact that I said his name. So, Mark's next victim was named Johnny Altinger. Johnny answered a dating ad. The step-by-step instructions were messaged to Johnny, just as they were with the other fella. Mark's room was still set up because fucking nothing happened the last time.
Yeah, no, for sure.
He did put away the stun baton. And while he was waiting for Johnny, he, quote, stretched my body out to limber up. He was set to meet Johnny at 7 p.m., but Mark couldn't wait. Well, he did wait, like an idiot. He put on his mask, hood, and he waited, sitting there, for 13 minutes. Just like, right? Like, like fucking Charlie Brown on the bus stop. Like, you know what I mean?
Twiddling his thumbs.
Right. So Johnny arrives and he walks into the garage. And for some reason, the fact that Johnny entered saying hello really threw off Mark. So Mark took the mask off and he called back and said hello. And he started this whole improvised ruse saying that this was the location of a film he was working on, like literal word vomit the whole time.
Yeah, of course,
now, I do want to say, this is how I know that he did give us, like, line by line what happened or time by time, because he's even giving us the failings, and not many folks that write confessions or manifestos will give their failings, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right, they'll only say the stuff that they succeeded in. However, he explains this whole situation. It's so important to him. Anyways, he got really friendly, and he showed him the prop gun, and he said that the, quote, woman Johnny was waiting for was running 20 minutes late. He said, I'm Harry. I'm a local filmmaker preparing a set that's supposed to look like a serial killer's little area here. You might have heard of my stuff. To which Johnny replied, I haven't heard of that. So his excuse was that she was running 20 minutes late. Johnny left and said that he would come back. And you know what? I'd have done that too, because holy hell, that's creepy and a little on the nose there, Mark.
I might have just not come back and been like, sorry, it didn't work out.
Well, that's knowing now what we know. Yes, I would not.
Plenty of fish in the sea.
Oh, God. So Johnny came back. Mark chickened out. Those are his words. And he delivered the bad news that she wasn't going to be able to make it. And this was for 2 reasons. 1, he's a coward. And 2, he thought Johnny would have been on the phone with his friends and telling them about the address, etc., in between the times.
Yeah.
So Johnny left, and he left the garage. So Mark was left with an entirely set up room like last time and an entire night to do what he wanted due to lying to his wife about where he was. So he hopped back online with a new account. And the new account had over 200 messages as he set it up that morning, which, that's insane. Like, yeah, that's insane. He's like, what can I say? What number is believable, but not too much? 50? 125? No, 200.
Putting, like, nude photos on an incel website, maybe.
Jesus. God. So he looked through those messages for 25 minutes, and then he saw that Johnny sent him a message the same evening he escaped. And he responded with a massive apology and an offer to reschedule for the next day. Johnny wanted to come over again that night, so Mark set it up.
Yeah.
So let me repeat that this account, and I might have said this already, but let me just say it again. The account of the murder is pieced together to include items from his SK confessions. The way in which things were done, or the intensity I've attempted to remove, the timeline I have used as his psychosis was braggadocious, and I think he was telling the timeline correctly, but might have expounded upon some things to make him look more impressive, which is obviously fucked up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read a little bit from it, but I'm also going to describe what happened too. He said, crouched, poised, I had a whole new plan. No mask needed this time. Just pretending to be poking around at the back of the set, and then wham! I would slam him unconscious, and his survival would be a bonus, but not necessary. He played into it perfectly. He reappeared through the garage, and I soon followed. Quote, I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, he shrugged. I said, you have no idea.
Oh, my God.
So Mark hit him in the back of the head, and he didn't drop to the floor like Mark expected. So he continued to hit him. Johnny screamed for the police. Mark hit him harder. Johnny fell to the floor, but he was still conscious. Johnny attempted to get up and take the pipe that Mark was using, so instead of the stun baton, he was using a pipe. Mark didn't want to fight all over again, so he pulled out his knife, and he thrust the knife into him. And he said, watching the shock on his face as he saw the blade, I thrust it into this guy. And this is where, if you didn't hate him already, he said his reaction was pure Hollywood.
God.
Yeah.
I mean, the grossest part of all of it is that the guy he's idolizing here, Dexter only killed bad people. And he had a code.
True. He did have a code, you know.
Yeah. So, what's your code, asshole?
Right. So he immediately became paranoid, thinking someone was definitely going to come for him. He forgot to close the garage door all the way, etc. After another attack with a knife, Johnny died on that floor. Mark found it prudent to report that he died away from the plastic sheeting and on the hard floor instead of on the plastic sheeting like he had planned. That was important for him to tell everybody.
Well, because again, he's an idiot and he didn't plan properly. Because he's just useless.
He really is. So I've shared enough details of that. It's horrible and terrible. He dismembered the body, and after a series of errors, he ended up disposing of the body in the storm sewer. So during the dismemberment, he played with the victim's skull. He twisted the jaws. It's truly ridiculous, and it's horrifying, and it's uncomfortable, and he escalated quickly. Like, quickly. This wasn't like test, try things like your typical, like, you know what I mean? Like, you see escalation, but not like this. So the SK confessions explain that he drove around with the body in his car because he didn't know where to go with it. In the document, he talked about driving around with him and pulling up beside people at red lights and looking at them thinking that they, quote, don't know I have a dead body in the trunk of my car. Like, it was like a badge of honor, right?
Yeah.
In one of his letters to the journalist, he wrote, quote, I killed Johnny in a horrific accident of self-defense. After cursorily shoving aside my human sensibilities, I dealt with his remains in a disrespectful manner that traumatized me forever. He can't own up to it, and he won't own up to it.
No, that was definitely self-offense.
Right. So then he continues and considers the disposal and hiding evidence. Mark actually drove to Johnny's house. He drove to Johnny's house. He got into his computer. He put up a, quote, out-of-office message for Johnny that said, quote, I've met a woman named Jen, and I'm going away with her to Costa Rica, and I'll call you at Christmas time. And at the same time, all of his friends got that same message. Johnny's friends broke into his apartment, as friends would think that was weird.
Mm-hmm.
And they found dirty dishes. They found his passport. They found everything set up like he was just headed out for a little and would be back. So they went to the police.
Yeah.
Johnny was a smart guy. When detectives went looking for Johnny's vehicle, they also found out that he had forwarded directions to where he was headed to friends, and he said to them, quote, "Yeah, well, here's the directions, and if anything happens to me, you'll know where to look." So smart. So smart. In fact, the first time Carrie ever drove down to Greensboro, she gave everybody she knew the address and the directions. I could be offended by that, but I'm not, because I totally get it.
That's very smart, yeah.
Yeah. So the directions led straight to the garage. Twitchell, upon being questioned, denied knowing Johnny or having seen a red Mazda and allowed the police to search the garage. The balls and the bravado on this dude to let them search the fucking garage.
Yeah, he has definitely got some big dumb balls.
Yep. Really big, annoying brass balls that just click when he walks.
Yeah.
You know? Detective Bill Clark said, quote, "They have a look around and they see what looks like blood. And Mark Twitchell's explaining, quote, "Oh no, that's my movie prop. We did a film about killing a guy in here and I filmed it all. And I've been cleaning it up over the last couple of weeks." Nobody has to clean a setup over. Okay.
Well, if you're dumb like him, it might take that long.
He's just like rubbing with the same rag, and it's just getting more and more.
It's one of those people that just, like, with a broom sweeps the same spot for hours.
It's true. He's like the Jerry Lewis. So Twitchell wanted to help the case, though, because of course he did. It was more of a way to brag, though, about his career and get on the radar for whatever he wanted to. So he talked about his career with the cops, and, you know, he's talking himself up and things like that. Police are still looking for that red Mazda. Mark Twitchell volunteers the information. He volunteers the information that he had bought one off a stranger for $40 and it was parked at a friend's house. He volunteered this information.
Dumb.
Right. Twitchell said, quote, "This guy taps on my window, you know, and he says, 'Hey, buddy, do you want to buy a car? I shacked up with this really rich lady. She's even going to buy me a new car. So I'm just looking to unload mine. How much do you have on you?'" That was his story.
And in Canada, you actually have to do paperwork to sell a vehicle, so...
Well, you know, that tells you just how much he didn't revere his victims, right? He's just like, they're dumb. Obviously, they were going to sell me a car, right? Detectives knew that was a load of shit.
Oh, yeah.
So detectives actually found an actor that worked on the movie with Twitchell, The House of Cards. And that actor said, quote, "My character was killed with a samurai sword. They said they would have a mannequin or a dummy to run the sword through, and when I got there was none. And when I looked at the weapons, that was my first sign. When I saw that they were real, I thought, this is off. Why didn't I tell someone where I am?"
Oh, God.
And the actor, Chris, was asked how much blood splatter was on the walls from the filming, and Chris said, "None of the blood splatter was from us." So,
oh, God.
Yep. So, they were eventually able to search Twitchell's property, specifically his car, and they found a couple of things. They found a laptop, which contained the SK confessions, which line by line detailed everything. And I do want to say, I haven't said this yet, but SK confession stood for serial killer confessions. So
you mean not Stephen King confessions?
No, again, right on the nose, right? And here's my other favorite part. He had a series of to-do lists written on Post-it notes in his car. Now, these weren't to-do lists that said, get the groceries, pick up my kid, get gas. No. Written on these Post-it notes was, quote, "Kill room clean sweep, destroy wallet contents, and return to address of victim."
Oh, for fuck's sakes. Imbecile.
Oh, so dumb. You know what? I'm glad he's dumb, because he's caught, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to give it away, but spoiler alert, he's caught. Because he's an idiot. So from his home, they found Japanese-style swords, a handcuff key, a drawing and a design for a metal chair, and a goalie mask. A goalie mask.
Oh, you don't say.
Halloween morning in 2008, Mark was working on his Halloween costume at his parents' home. Because of course he was, right?
Yeah.
Police laid a trap, an ironic one. Do you know what trap? Have you heard about this trap?
I don't remember what it was. I've heard this case before, but I don't remember.
I'm so excited to tell you and everybody else. Detective Bill Clark said, quote, We got an undercover operator to work the internet and pretend he was going to be an investor. He was lured out on the promise to meet this guy at this coffee shop. And when he got about 3 blocks from his house, the tactical team swooped in on him and took him down. Tough guy Mark Twitchell peed his pants. He was so scared.
Oh, that makes me happy.
So he got fucked the same way that he was trying to mess with other people. So Tetreault, the victim who was able to get away, he stayed silent because he couldn't find the account online as it had been deleted, and he felt ashamed that he was duped. But once he saw a news report about Johnny, Mark Twitchell, he spoke up. And he said, I couldn't believe it. Once you find out the whole story, I knew at that point it was not just a mugging. It was actually, he was probably going to kill me. And I'm like, wow, I have to go forward now. I have to come forward. And when he explained what happened, they were able to link his story directly to the SK Confessions document line by line, pretty much. Right? And so they investigated the garage and used luminol and found a bunch of human blood that wasn't visible to the naked eye, but literally looked like somebody had Blue Man grouped in the garage. Oh, God, yeah. It was terrible. Just so much. And you know, Twitchell was just so fucking proud of himself for what he did, but not good enough, Marky Mark. During Mark's interrogation, after being arrested, which lasted quite some time, some stuff happened. There was a cordial conversation for 2 hours, and then the detective said, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that you're involved in the disappearance of John Altinger. No doubt in my mind at all. And Twitchell said, why? And everything changed in the room. Everything. Twitchell had an answer for every question before that, but when the detectives made that accusation, he kept his answer short. And at a certain point, the detective said, quote, you're not going to be able to live with yourself with this for the rest of your life. You know how detectives do, right? Like, get this off your chest, blah, blah, blah. And Mark responded, you'd be surprised what I can live with.
Okay, tough boy.
So I mentioned that police thought that Twitchell's entire setup resembled scenes from Dexter. He talked about turning the garage into a kill room. He set up the makeshift autopsy table. He had plastic sheeting. He had that processing kit. Twitchell also wrote letters about his interest in Dexter, and he actually drew a portrait of Michael C. Hall. And the jail, get this, the jail granted him access to finish watching the series.
Wow. That's nuts. That's ridiculous.
Y'all be too polite up there. Don't give him ideas. That was too polite, Jesus. That was terrible. So, journalist was talking back and forth with Mark and asked him what caused this, and Twitchell wrote, there is no key, no root cause. There is no school bully or impressionably gory movies or Showtime television series to point the finger at. Again, on the nose there. Yeah. It is what it is, and I am what I am. FBI profiler Julia Cowley said, he identified with Dexter to some degree, but he is different, and he's not killing bad guys, like you had mentioned, Mike. Yeah. He's killing very innocent, good people. And while he's not a serial killer, technically, he was headed in that direction. And she believes the primary motivation for this was actually sexual because he was targeting men that he would be interested in having a date with, which was also a combination of sexual motive and thrill killing. And he's pretending to be a woman, and he writes kind of about what he's going to wear, the weapon that he chooses. He describes the weapon seductively. Yeah. In the piece. So, on April 12th, 2011, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with no chance of parole for 25 years. I don't understand the for 25 years bit, but, I mean, I guess somebody has to have some hope.
Well, it's just, that's how, we don't have, life in prison is 25 years to life, right? There's no, you're never getting out of prison. There's people that may never get granted parole after their minimum sentence, but, yeah, there is no, throw the key away sentence to Canada.
You know how in some documentaries you see families who are like, I absolutely hate the fact that my family member did this, but I still support them and I still visit them and stuff? Mm-hmm. Mark's family and friends sided with the prosecution.
Wouldn't you?
I think they wanted him away just as much as everybody else did. They were like, we saw this coming.
He's no longer our problem.
Right. He's a ward of the state. Or the province, rather. So in 2017, he was allowed to join an online dating website for inmates.
Which is so fucked.
It has been taken down since then, but what the fuck? Really?
Yeah.
Extensive media coverage actually led to Twitchell appealing. He used those as grounds for it, arguing that the media attention was so intense that it would be impossible to have an unbiased jury. And he actually ended up abandoning the appeal because I think he saw that there was no way.
Yeah, no.
And
I mean, he wanted to be a public figure anyways.
Right. He kind of got what he wanted, right? In an interview with Michael C. Hall, someone asked him about the Twitchell case, and he said, "I would hope that people's appreciation was more than some fetishization with the kill scenes. I wouldn't stop making Dexter because someone was fascinated by it only in that way. I tried to tell myself that their fixated nature would have done it one way or another. But it seems that Dexter had something to do with it, and it's horrifying." So I think that that's a reasonable response, right? Like,
yeah.
That's horrifying. That's terrible. He was fixated on this idea, and whether it was Dexter or not, he was probably going to head there.
Oh, God, yeah. He would have picked up on Saw or something.
Something, right? So, and I do want to say this, that, and this is off the cuff, right, is that I know that we're making fun of this guy and the fact that he's an absolute imbecile, but the fact remains is that he attempted murder on one person, he murdered another person and was totally disrespectful to even more people, but specifically those two people and how he treated them, both during his entrapment, during the actual attack, and then even after he had killed Johnny. And that's fucked, is what it is. And I want people to know that, you know, I am very sorry that this happened to those families and those friends of Giles and Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
And also, since this isn't exactly True Crime Lab, and it's Brew Crime, I also want to say that even though I make fun of Mark and I make fun of him being an absolute imbecile, that doesn't mean that those that were duped are equal to him. What that is that they were trusting and they believed, and that's okay. You know, that's fine. And you know, it's just important to be careful, and they were as best as they could be in that situation while dating online or finding somebody. And so, you know, I don't want anybody to kind of get my words twisted and things like that. So, you know, my thoughts still to this day go out to the victims of Mark. And to Mark, dude, you're probably going to search your name like you do every day on Google, and if you see this, fuck you. So
big fuck you.
Yeah, a big old fuck you, because you're an asshole. And yeah, so that's Mark Twitchell, Dexter Fire or Dumpster Fire. I think we've determined which one he is.
Yes.
So
you're giving Dumpster Fires a bad name.
You really are. You really, really are, man. It's just a dumpster fire full of just like exotic animal shit is what it is. I can't think of anything else. I can't think of, like, researching this case, I could think of nobody I fucking hated more.
Probably not, yeah.
At the time. So, yeah. So that's Mark Twitchell, and that concludes our Crimes of Alberta theme.
Yes, it does.
I am very excited for the next theme. Can we preview that real quick? We won't say what our cases are, but the next two episodes, except for the brewery, which we're excited to continue to release, the next two episodes are going to be the theme of crimes in punk rock. And I absolutely love that, to the point in which I actually reached out to two guys, one that I kind of know and the other one that I don't, but who's the lead singer of Bowling for Soup, Jarrett Reddick, because I have no shame. No, I haven't heard from them. So it's just going to be Mike and me, and that's fine. But yeah, Crimes of Punk Rock. So get ready for that coming up the last 2 weeks of the month. Yeah, so you all have a great week.
Woohoo!
Oh, God.
Right.
Crack one open for us, please.
Yes, please. Have one for me. So, thanks for tuning in to Brew Crime. You can find us on all social media platforms at Brew Crime. We have a Facebook group at Brew Crime Group. If you would like to support the show, head to patreon.com/brewcrimenow. Money goes towards upgrading equipment and making the show that much better. You can get one bonus episode a month, as well as early ad-free access to our episodes and our brewery episodes. So shout out to our Patreon supporters: 3 Biz In Podcast, Amber, the Faves of Our Lives Podcast, and True Crime Nana. Bye.
Later.
Skater. All cases on Brew Crime are written by Mike and JT or a writer we credit on the episode, and sources are put into our show notes for each episode. We always want to give credit to the people that research the cases we talk about. Check out our store at tpublic.com/stores/brew-crime-podcast, where you can purchase gear like t-shirts, phone cases, stickers, pillows, and all kinds of other cool stuff. Brew Crime's intro was created by Mike using Creative Commons Attribution licensed audio from purple-planet.com, soundbible.com, and freesoundeffects.com. Logo designed by Ben Greenberg. Thanks for listening to this episode of Brew Crime Podcast.
If you can see that. It's bright and cheery and happy, and I'm showing it to you, but nobody else can see it.
Haha.
Is that right? That doesn't sound right. Why doesn't that sound right?
It does sound a little low to me for
63.
Alberta.
It sounds really low. I think the temperature, the Celsius is fine. I think my Fahrenheit. You know what? I'm just gonna claim American.
Let me just turn on the brightness.
That's pretty bad. Even through the brightness, I saw the ridiculousness. Investigative. Am I British? He's. Now I might screw this name up, but I'm guessing it's literally. It might be Altinger. I'm gonna say Altinger. Altinger. I'm gonna say You know what, Johnny? They investigated the garage. Oh, I said that already. Blech. Impressionably gory movies, or Showtime television series. I'm gonna do that again. Blech. I would hope that people's appreciation was more than some sort of fetish. Oh God. I would hope that people's appreciation was more than some fetishization.
Fetishization?
Thank you, fetishization.